Hello and welcome to Granada Reports.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the programme this Wednesday evening.
Putting pressure on Parliament. The parents who know their children's lives hang in the balance as the NHS decides if it will fund a potentially life-saving drug. Children like Ollie and Amelia from Cheshire.
There's these 40 children that could potentially die, and what? Because our country thinks that their lives aren't worth the cost of a drug. It's disgraceful, to be honest. I think it's really disgusting and it's really upsetting.
They've held my hand and made me realise that making that decision was the best for me and my kids.
Just one story of surviving domestic abuse, a day in the life of a charity that's been keeping women and children safe from harm for almost 50 years, now facing financial ruin. A special report coming up.
You know when you know, so let's face it.
The Elvis lookalike from Bury, whose silky sound has put him on the road to Memphis.
And it may have felt like spring at the weekend, but we've been plunged back into big coat season again. And over the next couple of days or so, a wintry element to our weather. I'll have all the details later on.
Well, first tonight, the agony of the parents who know the decision which could keep their children alive will mainly fall down to one thing, and that's money.
Yeah, Lucy and Mike Carroll from Cheshire are the proud parents of Ollie and Amelia. Both of their children have a degenerative condition called Batten disease. If untreated, it will dramatically shorten their lives.
They've been kept alive by a drug called Granada, but now there's a real chance that funding for the drug will be pulled by the NHS over its price.
Well, the Carrolls went to Westminster today to put pressure on the government and to help save the lives of their children and others living with the same condition. Our reporter Anna Yosef has more.
Hi. Saying hi to Ollie.
Ollie and Amelia's parents haven't stopped fighting for them since they were diagnosed with Batten disease 10 years ago. The condition's fatal and incurable, but the siblings were among the first in the UK to receive a drug called Granada, which slows down the disease. Now the family face an agonising wait to find out if health chiefs will continue funding the only treatment that can keep their children alive.
Ollie's now 14 and Amelia's just celebrated her 12th birthday, and when we were told their diagnosis, we were told we would be very, very lucky for them to get to their 12th birthday. And it's the quality of life that they've got right now as well. They're not just existing on this earth, they're living their life to the full, and that's what this treatment does. You know, we've been very, very lucky for them to gain access to this treatment, and it's just, yeah, it's changed everything.
Batten disease causes seizures and dementia, gradually robbing children of their ability to walk, talk, see or swallow. The treatment costs around $500,000 a year per child, and there are currently 40 youngsters receiving it in the UK. But the drug could be withdrawn by the NHS within the next few months if negotiations over its price fail.
Our children's lives are literally in the hands of other people. Someone else is going to decide whether our child lives or dies, and yeah, that's really hard to come to terms with. There's children on this treatment who are running around and they don't have any symptoms of the disease whatsoever, yet that potentially could be taken away from them. 40 children that could potentially die, and what? Because our country thinks that their lives aren't worth the cost of a drug. It's disgraceful, to be honest. I think it's really disgusting and it's really upsetting.
Do you feel as if a price is being put on your children's lives?
100%, because if that price isn't right, they'll just say no to the drug. Our children will be taken off the drug, and probably within 12 months our children will be dead.
We need yes! We need yes!
Today, the Carrolls and other families living with Batten disease took their campaign to secure funding for the drug to Parliament. These families know the cost of the treatment's high, but say their children's lives are priceless. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Gosh, it's heartbreaking. Well, thank you so much to Lucy and Mike for sharing their story with us. In a statement, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence told us that with the support, the NHS and Biomarin, who are the makers of the drug, a 6-month extension has been agreed, which will cover treatments until the end of May.
Yeah, they went on to say all parties will now use the extension period to try to reach an agreement that secures permanent access for current patients and allows new patients to start treatment. There are currently no arrangements to enable access to Granada as part of standard NHS care following the expiry of the agreements.
Well, next, a special report on a charity that's literally saving the lives of women and their children.
Yes, we featured My Cheshire Without Abuse a few weeks ago. Their domestic violence services are under threat after Cheshire East Council withdrew its funding.
So, our reporter Zoe Muldoon decided to go back and spend a day with the charity to see just what they do and what's in danger of being lost.
The results were truly eye-opening. My CWA has raised half of the £500,000 it needs to keep running.
But the future still looks very uncertain. Zoe's report starts with an early morning call to just one of the women being kept safe from harm.
Hi, just coming to see you. How are you doing? I'm good.
Becky and Steph are visiting Ngozi at her refuge accommodation. She's been here for almost a year after fleeing her abusive marriage.
There was an incident and it broke my head. We had to call the police and it took me like 2 days to ring the police. I was scared. What if I get into trouble ringing the police? And I did. I rang the police and it all started from there.
Ngozi is just one of 14 women and 17 children currently living in a refuge run by domestic abuse charity My CWA. Thousands of families have been supported over the 47 years since the charity was set up.
Where I'm from, a woman living a marriage is seen as a big abomination, like it's a taboo. But they've held my hand and made me realize that making that decision was the best for me and my kids.
The welfare check with Ngozi is just one of several stops around the Cheshire East area that Rebecca, Steph and Wolfie the therapy dog will make today. Next visit is to Vicky, whose former partner almost killed her. He abused her physically and emotionally for 5 years. She's only here today because someone walking past their house heard her screams and called the police.
I had broken bones, black eyes were regular, headbutts. He was quite fond of them. He kept me isolated from my kids. That was the worst. Actually, his last attack was an attempt to keep my daughter away from me. He attacked me from behind and just wouldn't stop. It went on for hours.
Vicky's been here for 6 months. She says the support she's received from My CWA has given her her life back.
I have a life now, I have friends, I have my family back. I used to think things were my fault, but now I know they're not. It's gone from such a horrible, dark place to now. It's really good.
What we ask ourselves is, would we want our friends or family to live in these accommodations? And if we wouldn't, it's not good enough and we need to change it and make it better. There's only 3% of refuges nationally that offer truly complex accommodation, and we're one of those. So it's so valuable, so important.
And another important thing is that dogs, pets are allowed in refuges with My CWA.
Absolutely. So 5% of refuges nationally allow pets, which just isn't a big enough figure. They're part of their family. So as long as we can, we're there and we want to help.
And you can see how happy and thriving that Vicky is at the moment. She's really just trying to get on with her life, isn't she? And this place has got a big part in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the biggest decision somebody will make in their life, to leave their home, leave everything that they know. To just create those spaces where people can feel safe is just so important.
Emergency and refuge accommodation aren't the only means of support that My CWA provides, but council funding cuts mean some of its services are at risk.
So police were called by neighbour when neighbour heard Tyler very upset during an incident between mum and dad.
Back at the office, the team's discussing some of the trauma recovery work they do with children. But without adequate funding, specialist services like this are at risk of being lost.
So sometimes we do this with the mum, sometimes we pair it and we just have it ready for them.
Carol's been volunteering here for just over a year. She sorts out donations from the local community, ready to go to families in refuge.
It must be a horrendous situation to be in. It is hard to imagine. It's a shame for the little lives. We use this for all our refuge and anyone who...
Carol also looks after the food bank here, yet another crucial service for people in need that's now under threat.
The clients, how they must feel. You know, because we're walking away from them. It takes money to run it. You know, it's a charity and it takes a lot of money to run it, to do all the things that we do. Because when they flee, they don't have anything.
About me personally.
For Saskia, the chief executive of MyCWA, keeping this charity open and keeping families safe is her sole focus right now. She's personally felt the impact of domestic abuse. Her daughter took her own life as a result of a violent relationship.
One of the things that stood out for me was speaking to Vicky. She was saying that the support that she's had from this charity, the sessions, the therapy sessions, where she's made friends that she's going to have for the rest of her life, if they go, she doesn't know what will happen to her because they really have been a lifeline. That's what she told us.
They do make a difference. Our staff are experts. They really are amazing. There's not many organisations where I think, you know, you would find team members willing to go out 24 hours a day with a food parcel to sit and speak to somebody that's feeling suicidal, to help them through some of the really significant trauma that they've experienced. They are brilliant. They're not just running a building, they are actually changing the lives of the people that they work with. At the moment, the difficulty is that limbo of actually not knowing what's coming and not being aware of the decisions that are being made about your life, but you've got no voice in them, you've got no say in them. So that is really difficult.
Being able to go to bed without being worried or scared that, oh, what will happen the next minute? Is going to get upset. I keep saying I don't want anything to take away this peace I have now.
It's that peace that so many other women say they have now. And while MyCWA say they're hopeful after the response to their emergency appeal and conversations with Cheshire East Council, the fear of the charity being lost threatens to disrupt that peace.
And Zoe's in the studio with us now. Zoe, just put into words how terrible it would be if this charity was forced to close some or all of its services.
Well, this is the second time that I've spent time with MyCWA, and I think the women that have been brave enough to talk to us, to speak out, the victims themselves, say it all, really say it better than I could. They're testament to the incredible work that this charity does. Each and every woman has told me that this charity has saved their life, and they don't say that flippantly. I spent a day with them and we didn't get to half of the services that they provide. We saw the emergency refuge spaces, the food bank and some of the children's trauma recovery work that the charity does. But there's more we didn't get to, like the 24/7 emergency helpline, behaviour change programmes for perpetrators and things like one-to-one and group therapy sessions. To be honest, I don't think there's any doubt at all that this would be catastrophic if this charity closed. It's helped thousands of people in the 47 years that it's been going. Of course, there are other agencies like the police, like the council, that people can turn to if they are in desperate need. But this is the only independent domestic abuse charity in the Cheshire East area. Cheshire East Council have told us that they're having ongoing conversations around provision for domestic abuse services. And today the charity has told us that because of that and the incredible response to the emergency fundraising appeal, that they are hopeful for the future. They still have a fair bit to go to raise the £500,000 needed to keep all of those services that I mentioned and more running for a year, only a year, that's what they need. They've reached almost half of that. I think it's around £240,000 at the moment. But after that, we don't know. There are, of course, more details on that on our website, itv.com/Granada.
OK, Zoe, many thanks indeed.
Now, the mother of Olivia Pratt-Corbell says it's infuriating that another murderer, Kyle Clifford, has refused to appear to be sentenced. Cheryl Corbell started her Face the Family campaign after her daughter's killer refused to enter the dock. On Tuesday, Kyle Clifford also refused to leave the cells before being given a whole life order for the killings of Carol, Louise and Hannah Hunt in Hertfordshire. Well, today, Olivia's mother accused the government of broken promises over a change in the law. The Ministry of Justice say they will bring forward legislation to order offenders to court.
A pensioner murdered and sawn into pieces told an online friend he was the partner of the man now accused of killing him, a court has heard. Stuart Everett's body parts were found deposited at various sites across Salford and Manchester last April. He sent emails to a friend describing his alleged killer as his partner. Marcin Mijekowicz denies murder and manslaughter.
The families of those who died in the Hillsborough disaster have been told there will be no misconduct case for police officers who tried to deflect blame onto Liverpool fans. The police watchdog said no officers were found to have a case to answer because professional standards for policing at the time did not include a specific duty of candour. The government have promised to bring forward a Hillsborough law to include a legal duty for public servants to tell the truth before the next anniversary of the disaster in which 97 Liverpool fans died.
An inpatient unit at Marie Curie Hospice in Liverpool will reopen as soon as possible. Last night, campaigners gathered outside Liverpool Town Hall as bosses from the charity met with the council. The unit in Woolton closed last summer due to staff shortages. Councillors were told there are no plans to sell the building and that reinstating inpatient services remains a priority.
The amount of people smoking across Greater Manchester has fallen to its lowest ever level, according to the NHS. Smoking rates have decreased to 12.5% in the region, with more than 36,000 adults quitting in the past year alone. This No Smoking Day, NHS Greater Manchester is offering free support to help people quit for good. Now, here's what's still to come on the ITV Evening News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the Evening News, President Trump enforces 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminium imports, effectively escalating a global trade war. The cargo ship that crashed in the North Sea is found to have failed safety checks last summer. And a new study suggests children under 8 should avoid drinking slushies that could contain a harmful sugar substitute. Will you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Right, time for sport now. And Ruben Amorim agrees with his boss that some Manchester United players are underperforming. Here's David.
Yeah, that's right. He says it's up to him and his squad to change the mind of the club's co-owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Well, Amorim accepts it's not just the players, though, as he's also underperforming.
Everybody. Me, all the players, we are underperforming. A lot of people say that I'm not good enough for the club, and my feeling is that you can change that. I think we are really blunt and honest with each other. It's a little bit the character. We are quite similar that. I always felt the support of the board, and especially from Sir Jim. I cannot tell you the conversations, but are a simple conversation, clear conversation, and honest conversations.
Meanwhile, United's Mayor Letizia says she'd love to see a women's Super League game played at the club's planned new stadium. Well, United want to knock down Old Trafford and replace it with a 100,000-seater stadium. It'd be part of a larger regeneration project of the ground and its surrounding areas. The women's team play most of their home games in Lee, but have appeared 8 times at Old Trafford.
Really, really exciting for us as a club, as a women's team. So, yeah, if that happens, then great. But yeah, I think I'm a footballer, so yeah, I haven't really looked at the plans too much, just seen it on social media and that. So yeah, it's going to be exciting if that can happen. I think it'll be in a few years' time, but yeah, it's definitely exciting for the club.
Now, after their dreams of European glory came to an end, a domestic double is still up for grabs for Liverpool this season.
Football I was ever involved in. That we play his final on Sunday, so mentally that's the
probably the best you can ask for, because this is where we are playing football for, to play finals.
Well, in tonight's action, Blackburn Rovers head to Stoke, needing a win to close back in on the Championship playoffs. Meanwhile, Burnley are expected to appeal the red card shown to defender CJ Egan-Riley, as both he and head coach Scott Parker were sent off after the final whistle had gone in their draw with West Brom. The Clarets missed out on going top after it finished 1-1 at Turf Moor. Elsewhere last night, it was the same scoreline as Preston drew 1-1 on their travels at Sunderland. In League One, Blackpool came from behind to beat Cambridge 2-1 at Bloomfield Road. And Accrington are now 10 points clear of relegation in League Two, thanks to a 5-0 win over Newport. Speaking of fives, 5 Sale Sharks players have been included in England's squad to face Wales in their final Six Nations match on Saturday. Congratulations, here they all are, in particular to Tom Roebuck there in the middle, who will be making his first start for his country. And of course, you know, there is an outside chance that England could actually win the Six Nations. We need a bit of help from Scotland beating the French, but we could do it.
You're going to put some money on that, David?
No, not at all, because that will jinx it, so I will definitely not do that.
Well, good luck to them. Thank you, David. Thank you. Now, it has to be said, there are those who say that Elvis, the king of rock and roll, is still very much alive.
Yeah, his death was reported in 1977, but he was constantly being spotted in supermarkets and car parks in places from Bolton to Birmingham, Alabama. But how about Bury?
Well, if you think you have spotted him in Bury, you could be forgiven, because young singer Elliot James Ray both looks and sounds just like him.
He certainly does, which is why he's now on the road to Memphis, as our correspondent Andy Bonner now reports.
He's beaten thousands of musicians worldwide with a song that could have been written 70 years ago.
They say
this Elvis-inspired track has wowed judges at the Road to Memphis competition, but maybe surprisingly, it's the creation of a 22-year-old from Bury.
The song itself is taken from that Memphis sound. I absolutely love all the artists from that era, from Memphis, and for this specific song to win an award like that is incredible. I don't know. I don't really have much words for it because I'm like so taken back. It's not really hit me yet.
Now Elliot signed a record deal and has just returned from a tour of Southeast Asia. Not bad for someone who started with a few videos on social media.
TikTok is a lot of comments from people saying like, oh, I've showed this to my nan and now we watch your videos together. And I think it's what I aim to do. I want to just bring people together with music, and you know, I think that that's happening.
The song contest started in Liverpool during lockdown. It was co-founded by a social psychologist who saw the need to offer mental health support to musicians.
Creative arts is a very, very sensitive platform for many, many musicians, songwriters. And if they don't get the crowd, if they don't get an understanding or an arm around their shoulder, then they tend to crumble, unfortunately. So whether you're Elliot James Ray, Billie Eilish, or starting new in your career, what we've created is an incredible safety net that actually saves lives.
If you go down Matthew Street on the walls of the Cavern Club, you will see a Memphis to Liverpool commemoration. We've had a strong relationship, especially on the tourism and cultural side. You know, there's a lot of similarities. They're both working cities, blue-collar cities, cities that have kind of a grit and grind to it, and both arguably two cities that had a major impact culturally on the world with the music of the Beatles and, of course, the music of Elvis.
And it's in Memphis that Elliot will collect his award next week.
I think for Elliot, this will be an incredible moment. Why? Because this is something as a child he's always dreamed about. And also, it would encourage others, like Elliot, that your dream can always come true.
When I was last there, we were going to go and we never did. And now I get to go back. This time they're asking me to come, which is nice.
Elliot's now got over 5 million fans on social media, and that only looks set to grow for the man who can't help believing. Andy Bonner, ITV News.
He's got a name like he should be in the 50s, doesn't he?
He really does, yeah.
Elliot James Ray.
Gamal, I feel like there is a bit of Elvis that's just
Hey, there's a little bit of Elvis in all of us, Mel. Over to you.
No. Do you know, I've never even done Elvis on karaoke.
Really?
That's what I haven't done. No.
Well, my favourite Elvis song is In the Ghetto. Absolutely love that one.
It's a good one.
Here's the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening too. There's certainly been a cold feel to our weather today. It's like we've been plunged back into winter. And over the next 24 hours, further showers to come with a wintry element to them on higher ground. Icy conditions for some of us as we start the day tomorrow. But all in all, by the weekend, settling down somewhat with some sunshine in store. The showery regime thanks to low pressure for the next couple of days. And then building in from the west, we've got that high pressure just giving us a settled end to the week, drier with some sunshine to look forward to for the whole of the UK in general. Back to this evening's details. 1 or 2 showers feeding through, chiefly for Pennine areas, the Lakeland Fells, the Peak District, and it's possible some of that could be falling as sleet and snow with icy conditions quite widely where there's any moisture on the roads overnight tonight as temperatures hover just above freezing. Still that cold northerly wind, mostly dry conditions for the northwest of England and the Isle of Man before dawn, but a frosty start to the day tomorrow. The sun will be up tomorrow at 6:31. It sets at 6:10 tomorrow evening. And for most of us, a bright, cold start to Thursday. Still a few showers for eastern fringes, and that continues on and off throughout the day tomorrow, with a bit of sleet in the mix as well up on higher ground for the Peak District, the Pennines, and again the Lake District through the day. Further west, it's drier. Bit of brightness, but slightly more cloud building through the day. 6 or 7 Celsius is likely to feel quite chilly due to the direction of that wind through the day tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, another cold one. By Friday, it's settling down, high pressure building in, so a quiet end to the working week, a fine day to come on Saturday. And Sunday's dry, but there's more cloud around. Some chilly nights ahead, though. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Do you know, this weather is bonkers. I had snow at my house this morning.
Absolutely outrageous, isn't it? They give with one hand and take with another, don't we?
I want summer back.
Painful stuff. Bye-bye.
See ya.